The city landfill cogenerational facility has been losing considerable money. How should the city address this situation?
And that's a question that we've been addressing for quite some time. First, we got to get to the facts of this. This project, right, since its conception, all right, let's go back to the beginning of the story. And my opponents only want to talk about, they want to start it in the middle. They've said that it's been losing money for, well, in the recent roundtable discussion, they said 8 years. The project hasn't been online for 8 years. It's been online since January of 2010. So they're wrong on that point. We were facing a problem with our incinerator. The incinerator was losing about $1 million a year, close to it. That was a major problem we needed to address. So we needed to do something to replace the incinerator. To repair the incinerator, as one of my opponents mentioned, that's what they would have done. Well, that would have cost $1.5 million to repair. That wasn't economical. The price of wet sludge was costing $110. We were charging $30. The cost didn't make sense. So it wasn't economical to continue on with that process. We're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, couldn't fix it, so now comes this cogen plan. Now this is a cogen plan that was approved by 2 councils under 2 mayors. Mayor Lattimore, and then the council at that time, which I was a minority. The following council under Mayor Quill, again I was a minority. Quill gave his blessing and said, was on YNN saying that this is going to bring jobs. Now, am I saying do we blame Mayor Quill? Absolutely not. Do we blame those member of councils? No. My point is you had 2 councils, you had 2 engineering firms, 2 very reputable engineering firms. You had all our legal advisors on this. You had Lisa Green, the comptroller. You had all of these agencies. You had NYSERDA, you had the DEC, you had the EPA, all give their blessings to this project, saying this is an economically smart way to go. Now, we went through this thing. It wasn't an overnight decision. We went over the analysis, we looked over the numbers, there's presentations. Unanimously, 2 councils voted in favor of this. Now, what does Mr. DeAngelis, Mrs. McCormick, and Mr. Cuddy know? Do they have the answers as to how they would have solved the problem with the incinerator? I haven't heard anything. If they have the answers to how they would fix how they would have seen into the future and had their crystal ball and how they would have prevented what's happening now with the cogen, if they can tell me that, I'll vote for them. But you've heard none of that. The cogen facility is written in the numbers. They're saying $6 million. No one's produced a spreadsheet showing that there's $6 million in loss. What's getting completely ignored in this whole conversation is the cost avoidance. Because Greg, let's say right now we didn't have a cogen facility. If we didn't have a cogen facility, which is supplying power to the wastewater treatment plant, that would have meant NYSEG. We would have to be paying NYSEG, which would have been a much higher rate. So if you take the cost savings into effect, we're probably losing between $400,000 to $500,000 a year since 2010. Is it something we need to address? Absolutely. And this has been our priority. As soon as Mr. Payless was city manager, and I remember this discussion, and we brought up one of the options was, hey, we can foresee what's going on here. Let's buy that out. We didn't have the votes. Okay, I didn't have the support to buy that cogen facility out. Now, the options that are on the table now, and there's 4 options. Every single option that's on the table is at worst a situation where the city's going to break even. But what we'll still have, Greg, is we'll still have a facility to use, especially if a company comes in, which we had one, that we could supply heat to, we could supply power to, and heat as well. And this, we wouldn't even be talking about this issue now. But there was differences in legal opinion, let's just leave it at that, saying that we could not sell power to them, which in fact we could. So what's being avoided is the cost avoidance that this project is, that Cogen is currently providing. But this is something that needs to be addressed. But as Mr. Selby said in an article that you wrote, I believe it was June 26, he said during the budget, he said, this is a small element of our budgetary problems. This is not why Auburn had to lay off firemen. If we had the Cogen, if that was running great, we still would have to lay off firemen. Because the city is structurally unsound. The budget is structurally unsound. We can't afford the manning levels that we have. Not just in the fire department, but we just have to restructure every department and rethink how we do everything. So the Cogen facility is on its way. What's killed us is the methane. We're not producing the methane that we needed to produce. Okay, is there flaws in that contract? Yes. But I listened to the advice of the 20-odd people that told us that this was a win-win situation for the city.